My name is Berta. I am 36 years old. I live in a small town in Germany with my husband, Helmut. We have been married for 8 years. People say we have a happy marriage. I think that is true most of the time. My husband is a successful businessman. He works in a big company and travels often. I stay at home. I take care of the house. We do not have children, but we enjoy our life together. Helmut is very kind to me. He likes to bring me flowers on Fridays. He often says, "Berta, you are the best thing in my life." When he says this, I smile and feel warm. He also likes to go out to nice restaurants. Sometimes we have dinner by candlelight. He holds my hand and tells me about his work. I listen, and I try to understand his busy world. He loves to talk about business and sports. Helmut is very active. He wakes up early every day. He goes to the gym before work. He eats healthy food, drinks smoothies, and takes vitamins. I admire his energy. He likes to say that health is important for happiness. I agree with him, but I am not like him. I wake up late in the morning. I like to drink coffee and watch TV. I enjoy cooking, reading, and relaxing. I am not very sporty. I am also a little overweight. Helmut never says anything unkind about my weight, but I know he wants me to lose some kilos. He often says, "You will feel better if you eat less sugar." I tell him I will start a diet soon. He smiles and says, "Good, my love. I will help you." I say yes, but in my heart, I feel worried. I know that I like sweets too much. I love cakes, cookies, and chocolates. They make me happy even for a short time. Last month, Helmut bought a new treadmill for the house. He said, "You can walk a little every day. It will help you." I smiled and said thank you. I used it for 2 days. Then I stopped. It made me tired, and I did not enjoy it. Every morning, Helmut asked, "Did you walk today?" I said, "Yes, a little." But it was not true. I started to lie. I told myself it was a small lie and not important, but it started to make me feel guilty. One day, Helmut left for work early. I felt lonely and bored. I went to the basement to wash some clothes. There, on the shelf, I saw a box of candies. I had bought them a week before. I told myself I would not open them, but now they were calling me. I looked at them and smiled. I said, "Just one." I opened the box and took one candy. It tasted so good. I sat on the small chair and ate another, then another. Soon, the box was almost empty. I did not hear the door open. I did not hear Helmut come home. He walked down the stairs to the basement. When I saw him, I froze. He looked at me, then looked at the candy box. His face was calm, but his eyes were not. He said, "Berta, what are you doing?" I wanted to hide the box, but it was too late. I said softly, "I was cleaning. I just wanted a small candy." He said nothing for a few seconds. Then he sighed and said, "I came home early. I wanted to have lunch with you, but I see you are busy." He turned and walked upstairs. I sat there for a long time. My hands were shaking. I felt ashamed. I knew it was not a big thing, but I felt like I had broken a promise. I had said I would start a diet, and I had not. I felt like I had disappointed him. Later, I went upstairs. Helmut was sitting in the living room. He was reading a newspaper. I said, "Helmut, I am sorry. I did not mean to lie." He looked up and smiled, but his smile was small. "It's okay, Berta. It's not about the candy. It's about honesty." His words stayed in my mind. I did not answer. I went to the kitchen and made coffee. I sat at the table and thought about our marriage. I loved my husband, but sometimes I felt small next to him. He was strong, healthy, and confident. I was soft, slow, and not very active. I wondered if he was truly happy with me. That night, I tried to act normal. I made dinner and we ate together. He talked about his work, and I listened. He was polite and kind, but I could feel something had changed. The air between us was different. He kissed me goodnight, but his touch was light. I turned off the light and lay awake. I could not stop thinking about what he said. The next morning, Helmut left for work as usual. I stayed in bed and thought about my life. I remembered how happy we were when we first met. I was 28 and he was 30. We met at a friend's party. He was charming, and I liked him right away. He told me I had a nice smile. After that, we met often. He said I made him laugh. I thought he liked me for who I was. Maybe he still did, but now I felt that I was not enough. After breakfast, I looked at myself in the mirror. I did not hate what I saw, but I did not love it either. I saw a woman who tried her best but still felt tired. I saw someone who wanted to be perfect but could not be. I wanted to make Helmut proud, but I did not know how. That afternoon, I decided to start my diet again. I threw away all the sweets in the house. I made a salad for dinner. When Helmut came home, I said, "Look, I made something healthy." He smiled and said, "That's great, Berta." But his smile still felt far away. I wanted to talk about what happened in the basement, but I was afraid. I did not want to argue. I wanted peace. After dinner, we watched a movie. Helmut sat beside me, but we did not hold hands like before. I looked at him from the side. He looked calm and focused on the screen. I thought about the old days when we used to laugh together. I missed that feeling. I wanted it back. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about love. I asked myself what love really means. Is it always about being perfect? Or is it about being honest and kind? I did not have an answer. I only knew that I still loved Helmut, and I hoped he still loved me too. The next morning, I woke up early. I went to the kitchen and made him breakfast. When he came down, he looked surprised. You are awake early, he said. I smiled. Yes, I want to try to change. He looked at me for a moment, then kissed my forehead. That's good, he said softly. It was a small moment, but it made me feel better. Maybe our marriage was not perfect, but it was real. We were two people trying to understand each other, and maybe that was enough. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. The next few days were quiet. Helmut went to work early, and I stayed home. I tried to eat less and walk more. I made soup and salad for lunch. I wanted to show him that I was serious, but deep inside, I felt lonely. The house was big and silent. I cleaned, I cooked, I folded clothes. The same things every day. I tried to keep busy, but my mind often went back to the basement moment. I could not forget his face when he saw me. It was not anger. It was disappointment. At night, when he came home, I smiled and asked, "How was your day?" He always said, "It was fine." Then he turned on the TV or checked his phone. He was not cold, but he was not warm either. I could feel the space between us growing slowly. It was not loud or clear. It was quiet, like a wall that built itself piece by piece. One evening he said, "I will go to the gym after work tomorrow. There is a new trainer. He said he can help me improve my form." I said, "That's nice." He smiled and said, "You should join too. Maybe you would like it." I said, "Maybe later." But in my heart, I knew I would not go. I felt shy. I did not want people to look at me. I was afraid they would judge me. The next day, I stayed home and made his favorite soup. I waited for him to come home. I wanted to eat dinner together, but he sent a message. "I will be late. I am going to the gym and then dinner with some colleagues." I wrote back, "Okay, take care." I looked at the soup on the table. It was still warm, but it did not make me happy. I ate alone and washed the dishes in silence. That night, I lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. I thought about our marriage. We used to talk about everything. Now, we mostly talked about food, work, or sleep. I missed how we laughed when we were younger. I missed how we shared small secrets and dreams. I wanted to bring that back, but I did not know how. The next morning, I decided to go out. I put on a simple dress and walked to the park. The air was cool and fresh. I saw children playing, old people walking their dogs, couples holding hands. I sat on a bench and watched them. I felt a little sad but also calm. Then I saw a woman sitting next to me. She looked friendly. She said, "Nice weather today." I smiled and said, "Yes, it's beautiful." Her name was Marta. She said she lived nearby. We started talking. She told me she was a teacher and she liked to come to the park after school. I told her about my husband and our life. She listened and said softly, "You sound like a good wife, but don't forget to be kind to yourself too." I smiled, but I didn't know what to say. Her words stayed in my mind. After that day, I started going to the park more often. Sometimes I met Marta there and we talked. She made me laugh. It felt nice to talk to someone who understood. She said, "Every marriage has small secrets, but love is not about being perfect. It's about understanding." I thought about that many times. Maybe she was right. A week later, Helmut came home early again. I was in the kitchen cooking. When he walked in, I smiled. "You're home early," I said. He said, "Yes, I finished work faster today." I felt nervous. The last time he came home early, he caught me in the basement. But this time, I was doing something good. I was making healthy food. He looked at the table and said, "That looks nice." I said, "It's grilled fish and vegetables." He nodded and sat down. We ate together quietly. After a few minutes, he said, "You look different lately." I asked, "Different how?" He said, "You seem calmer." I smiled. Maybe because I'm trying to change, but in my own way. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "I just want you to be happy." After dinner, we went for a short walk. It was the first time in a long while. The evening air was cool and the sky was full of stars. Helmut said, "I'm sorry if I made you feel bad. I didn't mean to." I said, "It's okay. I just want you to know that I try my best." He smiled and said, "I know." For a few days, things felt better. We talked more. We watched a movie together and laughed. He even brought me flowers again. I felt hope. Maybe everything was going back to normal. But then, one Friday night, he said something that hurt me. We were sitting on the sofa when he said, "You know, I met a new colleague at the gym. She's very active and full of energy. She reminds me of how people were when we were younger." I tried to smile, but I felt something heavy inside. I said, "That's nice." He looked at me and said, "You could be like that too, Berta. You just need to try." I nodded, but I felt small. I didn't want to argue. Later that night, I went to the bathroom and looked at my face in the mirror. I didn't cry, but my eyes looked tired. The next morning, I felt quiet. Helmut noticed and asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes, just tired." He said, "You should come to the gym with me today." I didn't want to go, but I said yes. Maybe it would make him happy. At the gym, I felt strange. Everyone looked strong and fit. I felt out of place. Helmut smiled and said, "Just walk slowly. Don't worry." I tried to do the exercises, but I felt clumsy. After 20 minutes, I stopped. I said, "I need some air." I walked outside and sat on a bench. A few minutes later, Helmut came out.
"Are you okay?"
he asked. I said, "Yes, I just need a break." He sat next to me.
"Berta,"
he said softly,
"I'm not trying to change who you are. I just want you to be healthy."
I looked at him and said,
"I know, but sometimes I feel like you want me to be someone else."
He was quiet for a moment. Then he said,
"Maybe I've been too hard. I don't want to make you feel that way."
That night, when we got home, he helped me cook dinner. It was simple: rice and vegetables. We ate together and talked about small things. It felt peaceful again. But even though things looked calm, a part of me still felt unsure. I wanted to believe that love was enough, but I also wanted to feel seen and accepted. I lay in bed that night, listening to Helmut breathe softly beside me. I thought about all the years we had spent together. We had shared so much: holidays, laughter, small fights, long talks. Maybe love was not always full of big moments. Maybe it was about staying, even when things were not perfect. Still, I knew something needed to change. Not my body, but my heart. I needed to stop feeling afraid of not being good enough. I needed to find peace with myself, not just with him. The next morning, I decided to do one small thing for me. I went to the market and bought some fresh flowers. I put them on the table. When Helmut came home, he looked at them and said, "They're beautiful." I smiled and said, "Yes, I bought them for us." It was a small thing, but it felt good. For the first time in many days, I felt light. Maybe love is not about being perfect, I thought. Maybe it's about learning to live with our small mistakes and still caring. And maybe that was how our happy marriage could begin again. The next few weeks passed slowly. I felt more peaceful, but also more honest with myself. I no longer tried to be someone I was not. I started to take short walks every morning, not to lose weight, but to clear my mind. I cooked simple meals, sometimes healthy, sometimes not. I stopped hiding sweets. If I wanted one, I had one. I did not feel guilty anymore. I decided that honesty was more important than perfection. Helmut noticed the change. He smiled more often. One morning, while drinking his coffee, he said, "You seem happier lately." I smiled and said, "Maybe because I stopped fighting myself." He looked at me for a moment and said, "That's good. You don't have to be someone else for me, Berta." His voice was soft and calm. I looked at him and said, "Sometimes I felt you wanted me to be like you, strong, active, full of energy, but I'm different. I move slower. I enjoy quiet things. I like home, books, and small joys. That's who I am." He nodded and said, "I know. I guess I just wanted you to share my world too." I said, "We can share it, but in our own ways." That night we went for a walk together again. The air was cool and the sky was clear. Helmut held my hand. For a while, we didn't talk. Then he said, "Do you remember our first trip after we got married?" I smiled. "Yes, to the lake." He laughed. "You fell into the water." I laughed too. "Because you rocked the boat." We both laughed for a long time. It felt good. It felt like us again. After that, life started to feel normal, but in a better way. We began to do small things together again. Simple things. We cooked dinner together on Sundays. We went for short drives on weekends. Sometimes we sat in silence, just reading. The distance between us started to fade. One evening, I decided to tell him what I had been thinking. I said, "Helmut, can I tell you something?" He said, "Of course." I took a breath. I used to think love meant being perfect. I thought if I didn't look like the women you work with, maybe you'd stop loving me. But I understand now that love is not about looks. It's about kindness and respect. Helmut listened quietly. Then he said, "I never wanted you to feel that way. You are my home, Berta. When I come back from work, I know you're here. That means everything to me." I smiled. "Sometimes I forget that you need care too. I think I was busy feeling not good enough." He shook his head and said, "We both forgot how to listen, but we can learn again." His words made me feel warm. I felt safe. For the first time in a long time, I was not afraid to speak. I said, "I want us to be honest, even about small things. No more secrets, not even about candies." He laughed softly. "No more secrets," he said. A few days later, something small but beautiful happened. Helmut came home from work with a paper bag. He said, "Guess what's inside?" I smiled. "Flowers?" He shook his head. "No." I opened the bag. Inside was a small box of candies, my favorite kind. I looked at him, surprised. "For me?" He nodded. "Yes. Life is short. We can enjoy small things." I smiled and hugged him. It was a simple gift, but it meant a lot. It meant he understood. It meant he accepted me as I was. That night, as we sat together, I thought about how strange life is. Sometimes the smallest moment, a box of candies, a few words, a quiet walk, can change how we see love. It is not always big or dramatic. It can be simple, like two people learning to see each other again. Weeks turned into months. Our days were not perfect, but they were calm. Sometimes we still argued, but not for long. We learned to say sorry faster. We learned to listen more. Helmut still went to the gym, and I still stayed home. But he never asked me to join again. Sometimes when he came home tired, I made him tea. Sometimes he helped me wash the dishes. Small things, but full of care. One Sunday morning we went to the park together. The trees were green and the air smelled fresh. We walked slowly, side by side. Helmut said,
"Do you ever think about having children?"
I looked at him and said, "Sometimes. But maybe our life is good as it is." He smiled.
"Maybe you're right. Happiness doesn't always need to be bigger. Sometimes it's already here."
We sat on a bench near the pond. I watched the water move slowly. For a long time, neither of us spoke. It was a peaceful silence, the kind that comes when two people understand each other without words. When we got home, I looked at our living room. The flowers I had bought weeks ago were gone, but the vase was still there. I decided to fill it again. I went to the garden and picked some small white flowers. When I placed them on the table, I felt proud. Not because they were perfect, but because they were real. Like us. That evening, Helmut took my hand and said, "You know, Berta, our marriage is happy, not because it's perfect, but because it's honest." I smiled. "Yes," E said. "I think that's true." Later, when we went to bed, he said, "I love you, Berta." I said, "I love you too." It was simple, but I felt it deeply. Not like before, when I said it to please him, but now, because I truly believed it. That night, I closed my eyes and thought about everything that had happened. The candy, the guilt, the silence, the small talks, the walk, the flowers. Each moment had taught me something. Love was not about being perfect. It was about being kind. It was about saying sorry. It was about staying, even when things got hard. I understood now that a happy marriage is not something that just happens. It is something you build every day, with honesty, patience, and care. As Helmut slept beside me, I smiled. I knew our life was not perfect, but it was full of small moments that made it real. I felt thankful for him, for our home, for everything we had learned, and for the first time in many years, I felt truly happy. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and